forward-looking perspective. The Reserve Bank of India has hiked the repo rate by another 25 basis points, taking it to 6.5%. Announcing the bi-monthly monetary policy on Wednesday, RBI Governor Shaktikant Das said the Monetary Policy Committee, by a majority, decided to raise the policy repo rate by 25 basis points. Now, this is the 6th time interest rate has been hiked by the RBI since May last year, taking the total quantum of hike to 250 basis points. The central bank also projected India's economic growth at 6.4% for 23-24, broadly in line with the estimate of the economic survey, which was tabled in Parliament last week. The economic survey 2022-23 projected a baseline GDP growth of 6.5% in real terms for the next fiscal. So we'll decode the main points of the monetary policy review presented by the Reserve Bank of India with eminent panelists joining us on the broadcast. Pleased to welcome in the studio Mr. CHSL, Consulting Editor, The Business Standard. And joining us virtually is Dr. Ashok K. Nag, former advisor, Reserve Bank of India, Professor Charan Singh, CEO, IGRO Foundation. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us on the broadcast today. Coming to you first, Mr. Bhattacharjee, was this on expected lines? Another hike by 25 basis points, or does it come as a surprise given the softening inflation in the country?
Well, the two members of the committee didn't come as it wasn't expected. They sort of were pumping for the fact that it should be, the Reserve Bank should finish its interest rate rising trail for this episode. So definitely to that extent, you would think that there would be a section of the market which would also thinking that possibly RBI would take a pause. Why were they thinking so? Because the finance minister's budget on 1st February has been exactly what the economy needed. It's been very hard on fiscal consolidation, and it has done exactly what was necessary for RBI to feel confident that the supply of excess money in the economy is coming down. So there was a possibility. On the other hand, what RBI's majority opinion has held is that while inflation is coming down, it's still not really a continuous downward flow, especially what the governor pointed out, that the core inflation, which is basically inflation minus food and fuel, is still above 6%, which is the RBI's tolerance range of 2 to 6%. If that is the case, then RBI would say that let me be erring on the side of caution and make it a bit more costly for everybody around to play around with cash. So therefore, I would go on for this thing. And again, given that the global uncertainty is not something that you can pencil in, nobody knows which way a war will happen.
Right.
COVID, for instance, was another thing. How do you pencil in that sort of disasters? You really can't. So given that sort of uncertainty, and we've had 3 years of that sort of things, it's better that the central bank is saying, just as many of the other central banks are saying, that let's be a bit more cautious on the flow of liquidity. So raise the cost a bit more and hold on a bit.
So on the RBI's cautious approach, before I go to Mr. Nag, Professor Singh, coming to you first, there was, of course, a lot of hope that the RBI would pause this, cycle of rate hikes. Now that it has not happened, what, according to you, are some of the most significant impacts in the times to come?
See, I myself was expecting that there'll be a pause. And IGRO does the shadow monetary policy, as you know, and there also this was debated heavily. And the market perception was that this is not the time for pause. And therefore, even within the shadow, there was a view it should be increased. The market was also of the view that it should increase by 25 basis points. Now, one thing is clear, not only in RBI, if you heard the Fed Reserve Chairman, he also has raised it by 25 basis points. But the viewpoint, both the language of our governor and the language which the Fed Reserve was making their Fed chairman is similar. They want to anchor the expectations. And they feel that anchoring the expectations is better for the growth prospects and better for the economy. Now, given that fact that they want to anchor the expectations, they gave the reasons why, and very rightly said by the previous speaker, that the core inflation is high. And even if you look at the projections which are being made for the year, even the headline, core inflation, of course, has mentioned 6.1%, which is beyond the 4 plus minus 2. But even if you look at the inflation, which is for the whole year, that's also going to be a little high. It's expected to be 6.5%. So obviously, when we are going to be, when we are projecting that the inflation is still not, even the headline is not coming within the range, this has to happen. The inflationary expectations which have been done for the next year, they are also, of course, they're little moderate, 5.3%, and the RBI has given for all the 4 quarters how they see it. So my own feeling is that the tightening that is continuing will anchor inflationary expectations, that is for sure. Will it impact growth, which was one of the arguments that people who were saying there should be a pause should, and for that reason it should be a pause. Would it impact growth? The way the governor argued and the way he mentioned that the prospects in days to come, and I think he's very right. He has discussed the global uncertainties. He has discussed the domestic uncertainties. He has also said that as of now, the pressure on the oil prices, pressure on commodity prices could increase, and therefore he does not want to let go of the hood. The last point I want to make is that the finance minister also continued exactly in the same tone when they did the fiscal consolidation. They did the fiscal consolidation saying that we are following the long-term trend analysis and not using the option of difficult global and domestic conditions for letting loose the purse. I think the governor has done the same. What is this going to do? This is going to generate lots of confidence that the Reserve Bank of India, who has been given the mandate by the government, is following it in letter and spirit and not letting it go premature. This is the image it sent to the market, to the global market, global analyst, and I think in a way they still have space. Probably next time they may go for a pause. Inflation behaves. Otherwise, the message is clear, both to industry, both to the analysts, that the government and the RBI are here to anchor inflation expectations and keep it within the band and control it, which is okay, which is good in a sense.
Okay. Dr. Nag, coming to you for your perspective. So does this concern around core inflation mean that, the RBI governor is in no mood to actually declare an innings when it comes to this cycle of hiking interest rates? The fact that now there are expectations that perhaps this could be the last one, but it's sort of a mixed reaction and the kind of communication that comes across from the RBI governor, there seems to be no clear-cut answer to that.
It is quite, market was expecting that there will be a moderate hike of 25 basis point, and it has not belied. It has done that, as Charan Singh also told. See, what was market was expecting also, that the whether RBI will change its focus from withdrawal of accommodation to at least a neutral stance, which was not there. In fact, as you can see the policy document, the statement of the MPC, that the two outside economists, of course, Shashank Bide agreed with the RBI's own internal economists, including and the governor, that the stance could have been changed. But RBI has not changed the stance, that he says that they want to remain focused on the withdrawal of accommodation. No. This is one point of these things. Now, question is that one is the core inflations. Okay, that is the core inflations. According to the core inflations, if you look at these two things, you have to look at it. If the economy is getting heated up, or economy is also having a problem of a kind of a growth slackening over the 23-24. The RBI GDP projections, DLG projection, you will see that the entire GDP projections for the next 4 quarters of 23-24 are all basically is around 5. It come down to lastly is a 5.1 to 5.6. That is not a very high projections, given that the kind of two things we must understand, that the projections, when Fed is doing the same thing of the things, At that point, there is no risk of recession, no risk of the job loss, much of a job loss.